Welcome to Amateur Redneck Workshop. I'm Harold, and we'll get a little progress report here on the belt grinder, which probably won't get finished this year, but it might. Every time I turn around I make a little bit of progress in spite of myself, you know. And I guess I can show you a couple of things that I've done so far. We had the part that I drilled too big and put a 9/16 thread in. I stuck a 1/2 inch all thread in there and welded it up. After all, no use in having a bunch of odd threads. And I think I'd talk to you guys about something. There's a new law coming to most people's states. Now imagine this. This is a law where you're guilty until proven innocent. You can be accused by someone and they won't tell you who accused you, so you don't have the right to face your accuser in court. And what will happen now after you're accused is the police will come in the middle of the night and they will take your merchandise and haul it off, and if you give them any trouble they'll haul you off too. And there's normally no provisions in this new law for you to ever get your merchandise back. Very little there in the way of appeal or protest. Now it's kind of unusual in the U.S. for there to be a law where you're guilty until proven innocent. In fact, I don't know of another one, but we're all going to seem to be getting one in every state. And it's a good law for people that love to go around causing trouble. Suppose that you've got a neighbor that you don't like and they don't like you, and every time you see that neighbor they give you the middle finger salute, and they've taken you to court 2 or 3 times over that tree you planted near to their property, and the fruit falls on their property and they don't like it and they want it cut down, and things have gone bad to worse, and the guy's spiteful and mean and in general not a very nice guy. And he learns about this new law and he calls the cops and tells them you're a nutcase and all this stuff. You get hauled down, arrested maybe, all your merchandise is hauled off, and they won't tell you who accused you, so you would have the perfect defense if you knew that it was the guy next door, because everybody on your street knows how many times he's done evil things to you and lied about you and all sort of things, but you can't prove nothing because you don't know who accused you. Not even certain as to what you were accused of. And this wonderful new law is called a red flag law. Be on the lookout for it. 10 or 11 states have already got it. It's already cost lives in a couple of places. So be on the lookout for it. All right, well, let's get on with the belt grinder. And when it's over, I've got a special little thing to show you after I've shown you the belt grinder stuff. Alright, Jeremy's starting to show pictures of a spring there, and I've got some spring material, so I'll go ahead and wind one and see if I can't do it right. To make a spring, I'm going to have to make me a little jig here to hold things to bend the spring wire. So finally I get around to more use of my tapered drill bits. I got the sleeve in here to get the smaller ones up to about 3/4. Now this guy right here will fit the taper that's in there. These are 1 inch. So I've been slowly but surely drilling out this hole, and once I get it drilled out, I'll decide what I should do about the next hole. I need 2 little things sticking up to, to hold on and bend something around. So I'll have to decide on the next one once I get this hole finished. It's been quite a while since I used drill bits that big and needed all this stuff. But I bought it way back in the 70s like everything else. So here we go. That seems to be in there pretty good. I think that'll do it. This is a big guy. We'll start drilling a big hole here in a minute. We've got the thing on the lowest set of pulleys, which says here is about 230 RPM, which is probably 100 RPM more than I really need, but that's what I got. So squeeze some grease on it and back in the hole. There we are, 1-inch hole, good enough. Let's bend it, let's make a spring. Maybe more to this than it looks like, but I think we'll get there. Whoa. I'm going to get there. I can assure you, I'm going to get there. It's starting. Turning it around is the only thing I know to do. I'll bring you back later. Alright, so I bolted the spring down to the bar, and then I'm just bending it around as far as I can, and then loosening the table and turning it again. I don't know how far I can get like that, but obviously doesn't like to be up against there. But I'm bending the spring. I guess probably what I'll have to do is swap it end for end in the vise, so they keep turning things. It is too long. It's too long when it comes around towards the column there. But I can make a lot of progress like this, I think. Just keep on pulling it around. Drill press wants to roll off too. But as you can see, it's altogether possible. I just have to keep at it. So like they say, keep on keeping on. That's absolutely pitiful. And at the cost of quite a lot of blood from here and there. And I think that's just about all I can stand for today. I'll go and look at my options to maybe buy a spring. Okay, so no more worrying about this pitiful spring. I ordered one. And the other day I was watching, I really think I was watching Double Boost, and he was working on a roller out of a sander. He was boring it out, and I thought, I've got some of those. So I looked around, and sure enough, I do have some, but you know, all I need is about that much out of the middle, which would still use the stuff in the inside of it. So that meant that now I have to stand around and think to myself, will I use these or not? I feel they're already crowned and everything. So you guys are going to take an electronic nap while I try to figure out, am I going to use these and cut them down or make new ones? I got the axle out of there, but it seems like a lack of observation and getting too gung-ho too fast will get you every time. Why didn't the axle want to come out? There were 2 set screws in it, not just one. There was one right on top of the other one. I pulled out one and it wouldn't come out, so I applied pressure and it came out. So I guess that makes my mind up. I'm going to make my own wheels, which means I got to go down to the metal place and buy some 2-inch aluminum, because all I've got is 2.5. So I think I'll just go get some 2-inch. I want to get out of the house anyway, huh? Alright, so I got the 2 wheels marked off there. 2.2 inches and 2.2 inches. And they're 2-inch diameter, so I'm just going to crown them, and they'll come out, you know, 1.9, 190 something, or 80 something, or 70 something. And go ahead and drill the holes and mount the bearings and everything. Or I'm not sure. I might go ahead and separate them off and then make the bearing holes. I'll think on it here a minute. Okay, so now it's to bore the hole for the bearing in each side of the wheel. I've got a dial indicator down here on the ways to help me stop in the right spot. Although if it was a few thousandths in or out, really wouldn't matter once I get the axle in it and the spacer and everything. But I'm trying to do it just right. Now when I get really close to the diameter, I will of course slow down and make much smaller cuts. So you've seen holes bored a lot. That's the way it's going to go. I'm going to bore it till it gets the right diameter for the bearing, and then I'm going to stop. Pure and simple. Then we'll turn the wheel around. The best way for me to make it fit on a mandrel is to ream it. A lot more accurate than any other way that I can do. There you are, 5/8 inch. Okay, both sides of both wheels are bored to fit the bearings. So now all I got to do is I'm going to put it on a mandrel and crown the both of them, and they will be finished wheels. I want to wish you folks a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I'll probably see you again before New Year, but Merry Christmas and Happy New Year anyway. Alright? I told you guys I'd show you a little something special after we saw the belt grinder. And as some of you, I'm sure, are aware, this fall sometime I acquired a 3D printer, an Ender 3. And so I'll show you what I did with it. You know, this being a redneck and being around rednecks, there's a certain amount of bullshit you got to put up with rednecks, you know. It's just unavoidable. So what better thing to get to deal with rednecks than a bullshit grinder? And there's one right there. And look how neat this guy, you can just grind the stuff by the ton. Isn't that neat? Now you can even make them with 4-cylinder bullshit grinders or 5-cylinder, depending on how many rednecks you've got around, you know, and just grind away at it. Look at that. Now, I come up with the idea about this because I was watching the channel, and this guy said that, I don't know, maybe this particular hinge makes a perfect circle and the other one makes an oval. And of course he had one with 3 or 4 dots on it, and the one in the center I think was making a perfect circle and the others were making ovals, and it was pretty interesting, much more interesting than me showing you mine. But at least now I've got a way to deal with all the bullshit. I guess we need to see if Bubba or Thibodeau or somebody's around now. Oh, I left out half the story. I went to make this thing. The first file I downloaded made a little piece like this about as big around as a quarter. It was a real mess and it wouldn't print right, and I multiplied the size of it by 1,000 times, and then it would have made a piece about like that, except that it only partly printed and quit. Kura wanted me to install an update so I'd have the latest and greatest. Everything would be much more wonderful. So I did that, and it blew away all my printer configuration files. I thought, man, I'm in trouble now. But I finagled around and looked into things and watched YouTube videos and redid the printer configuration file and got everything working right. And that's when I downloaded this second bullshit grinder, and it printed out right. So every time I go to do anything, there's always misery. That's part of being a redneck. Something's got to go wrong no matter what you go to do. Alright, now let's go looking for Thibodeau or somebody. Well, it seems like Bubba had this uncle. Bubba, he's second uncle on his mother's side. Uncle Bubba was a thrifty sort of guy. In fact, a lot of folks said he was downright tight. And he married a gal just like him, you know, and so they were kind of tight. Well, they'd like to go to the state fair every year, and every year they'd go to the fair, and there'd be this guy with a little airplane taking people around for rides, and so it was $50, and Bubba suggested she'd say, $50, $50, and he'd say, yeah, you're right, $50, $50, so they wouldn't ride the plane, although, you know, they wanted to. And this went on year after year until finally one year they were standing there discussing it. The pilot heard him. He said, look here, he says, I'll make you a deal. He says, I'll take you up for a flight, and if neither one of you says anything at all, he says, this flight will be for free. He says, after all, $50 is $50. And they said, yep, let's go. So they hopped in the plane with him, you know, and he took off. And of course, you know, he didn't plan on giving them a free flight. So he went out and he did loop-de-loops and barrel rolls and all kind of things, you know, and never heard a word out of him. He landed, got down on the ground, and he turned to Bubba and he said, well, he says, I'll have to give you credit. He says, after all that stuff I did, he said, I never heard a word out of you. He says, yeah, he says, I almost said something when Emily fell out. Well, that's all, folks. Y'all try to subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Leave a comment if you got something to say. And above all, remember, keep on keeping on. Bye now.